If you want to know more about Private Transformation Network, I will strongly encourage you to follow us on YouTube. There's a lot of you had questions on mentoring, on all of that relationship. Go to YouTube and look for Private Transformation Network. You will find hundreds, and I mean literally, you'll find hundreds of videos that I have made over the years on different topics. I doubt if there's a topic you're looking for that you will not find on that platform. So go to YouTube, search for Private Transformation Network, and be sure to subscribe so that way you'll be informed when we have new materials posted out. And for those of you just joining the call, please make sure you mute your lines. Now, we're going to take a quick poll because this is a journey. If you recall, I said specifically that I am not big on one-timers, meaning that the goal is not for you to just attend one session and then you're great. This is more about making sure that you have everything that you need to be successful, right? So today we're going to take our first poll, and our first poll is going to be focused around the power of networking. Our first poll is going to be focused around the power of networking. So you are going to receive a quick poll, which I hope you can engage for the next 1 minute. It's going to ask a simple question around if you completed the last assignment. If you did, let's discuss your experiences and all of that fun stuff. How many of you can, some of you see the poll? Has the poll been sent out yet? Have you received the poll? Okay, I see your viewing, I see your reading, so I'll let you finish that. Great. All right. Okay, tracking the poll here, seeing progress. About less than half of you are done, so we're going to take some time, give you a little bit more time to get done. All right, about half of you are done. Help us get through this real quick. If you've not completed, please make sure you get this done as quickly as possible so that we can move forward.
What is your problem now? The screen.
Please mute your lines. Please mute your lines. Thank you.
Okay, Jesse.
I'm going to start calling your names out now. Jesse, mute your line. I can see your line is not muted. There's some of you whose lines are not muted. We can tell. So I don't want to start going in manually and doing stuff. So please mute your lines if you are not speaking. And I think there's only one person that should be speaking at this time. So please mute your lines. Thank you. Okay, we have about 60% have voted. You know, if you can help us get past this, if I might just get to a point where I'm like, we're not going to move forward until we have 100% vote. So try to answer the questions as honestly as you can, because this is so critical. This is the information we need to help us track or drive our conversation today. Okay. So just looking at the poll, you can see a question that came up. All right. The question was, I completed the assignment from the first session. By just looking at the poll alone, we can see that about a third of us did not do the assignment. if you look at the question, I completed the assignment from last week, right? You'll see that right about the same number of group of people, because it's the same question. The third, I would like to discuss my experiences from the last session. Now, this is quite interesting. You will see that about 27% of us want to discuss it, 45, maybe about half of us get it and so want to move forward. Some did not apply because they were not even in the last session. So the question actually, sorry about the mix-up, the first question was supposed to be, did you attend the first session, not completing the assignment? It was more about, did you complete the first question? That is on us. That is on me, actually. I own that, so I apologize. That was what that question was supposed to say. Did you attend the first session? Yes or no? That was to help us know who is on this call today versus who is not. So I get that. We'll figure that out as we go. But I think the second question will help us answer that question as well. Okay, so I'm just going to end the poll right now because we have about 60% voted. We have a whole bunch of folks who have not voted, but we'll just keep moving forward. Now, if you look at the results that we have, you will see that we'll skip question 1 because it was a mix-up, but let's look at question number 2. I completed the assignment from last week. 70% of those who did completed the assignment. That is about maybe 3/4. About a quarter did not even do the assignment. So it speaks a lot of volumes about what we consider to be our priority. Because if you've taken the time to attend a meeting and there are lessons shared that can improve your life and you choose not to act upon it, remember, it is not attendance that causes you to grow. It is action upon what you hear during attendance that causes you to grow. So it is imperative for you to learn that in order for you to produce, you must carry yourself through the process of implementation. That itself is what causes you to become successful at the end of the day. So if you're on this call, I would strongly encourage you that if you've not done last week's assignments, go get it done. I will share those. I will share those with you here in a second. All right. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, let's go to what those questions are. Here are the questions. The questions asked 2 simple things. And if you're watching, please make a note of this or write it down. It simply says you will go do a quality and a quantity test. And those questions you're going to ask yourself are around this. What are your goals for the next 3 years? What are my goals for the next 3 years? What do I want to accomplish? Because that in itself would help you determine what type of a network you need and who you need to be connected to. Number 2, are these individuals with a shared passion that can help attain my goals? Are there individuals with a shared passion? You can start out by picking up your phone. By just looking at your phone, you can tell, by just going through the Rolodex of your contact information, you can tell how many people can help you achieve those goals. Maybe they're already operating in that space, or maybe they know something about that space, or they have some kind of value that they can add to you within that space. And so you would have to make some effort to stay connected with them. And then thirdly, you need to ask the question is, what is your relationship with these individuals? Is it healthy? Is it thriving? Is it even active? Or is that something that you will need to go and revitalize? Then there is the quantity test. Having gone through your contact information, who are the people in your network? Who are the people that you have a relationship with? Who are the people that you can easily reach out to? Or are there even enough people in that relationship? And if there are, do they see you as you see them? Meaning that, do they see you as a mentor versus protege? Do they see you as a peer? Are they individuals that can add value to you? All of that you would need to figure out. And then, are there enough people in that network to give you the bench strength that you need to drive you from where you are to where you need to be? It is highly imperative that you understand the people around you. The people around you, I remember quite a while back, I heard one of my mentors say to me, He said, who you become in the future is a product of the people you know and the opportunities they create for you along the way. And that is so true because that has changed my life. Every significant event in my life, I can point to someone or some event or at some place that drove to that outcome. Every significant relationship that I have today did not happen by chance because I was sitting next to the person on an airplane. It happened because somebody introduced me to that person, or I made a deliberate effort to get connected to that person. Being able to develop a personal, strong network is an intentional effort. It has to be deliberate, it has to be planned, it has to be done by nobody else, by you. And I have news for you. It does not happen by accident. It requires intentional effort. Okay, so if you've got those questions, if you don't have it, take a screenshot of it because I'm about to move to something else right here. So let's quickly get into the topic of today. So we're talking about networking. What is a network, or what is networking? Last week, we looked at the definition from Investopedia that says networking is the exchange of information, one, and ideas among people with a common profession or special interest, usually in an informal social setting. Usually in an informal social setting. Now, why is this so critical? Because networking ought to be done with ease. It has to be a natural progression of event. It should not be something that should be so painful. It should not, networking does not have to be a chore. It doesn't have to be a task. It doesn't have to be so unnatural for you. In order for you to be an effective networker, you must get to that point where it becomes second nature to you. It must become second nature to you, meaning that you no longer have to be able to be struggling. You don't have to struggle around it. It becomes easy for you to. There's somebody who is, I don't know who that is, but somebody is. Yamisi, please mute your line. Okay, I think I will just have to mute everybody now. I didn't want to do that, but it looks like I just have to do it. Okay. Thank you. Can you all still hear me? Hope I didn't mute myself too. You can all hear me? Good. Awesome. Good. Okay. So it is so critical that you understand that networking is a very deliberate effort. You have to put in the time, the energy, the resources to make it work. All right. And remember that networking is driven mostly around information, ideas, commonality. Remember we talked about you must have something in common. There has to be something that ties you together. If there is nothing that ties you together, then it means that you will be struggling because you are going to be going uphill against relationships and people that have nothing to relate with you on. If you are part of a soccer networking group, you have something in common. If you're part of a pastor's networking group, you have something in common. If you're part of a businessman networking group, you have something in common. Every networking platform that must be sustainable must have a theme or something that binds them together. It's not just, oh, we are all people of the same gender. You know, sometimes it may be your tribe, sometimes it may be your ethnicity that brings you together. There has to be something that pulls you together in order for you to network. Now, let's move on to the next slide. We said last week, and I'm trying to refresh for the benefit of those who missed this so that you can see where we're going today. We talked about networking last week, that it is a mindset, that who you are and the outcome of your experiences in life are always a product or a reflection of how you think consistently, meaning that as a man thinks in his mind, as a man reasons in their mind, as a person relates to themselves within themselves, is often a reflection of what they achieve in life. So if you are not at that point where you have already come to terms with knowing how to mind your business, knowing how to frame your posture in a way that it allows you to grow, then you are going to remain in what we consider to be a fixed mindset. We talked about that according to Dr. Carol Dweck last week, that a fixed mindset keeps you locked down. But we'll look at how all of that ties into a personal walk, especially as we continue down this story today. Last week, here are some of the things I want you to think about. Last week, there were a few pointers that we brought up that I want you to remember. That number one, you need to focus on people that fit your goals. You need to focus on people that fit your goals, meaning that you don't have to have a relationship with every human being on earth. There are just those that have value to you at any point in time. So for instance, these individuals they have to be aligned to those objectives that you're trying to accomplish. That is part of the reason why we said it is critical for you to know exactly what it is that you want to accomplish. Remember, we talked about your goals. What are your goals for the next 3 to 5 years? We said that you have to change what you say to yourself because you're always exposed to different voices. But the voice that you will listen to the most is the voice that comes from within you. You're exposed to external voices that keep telling you who you are, what it thinks about you, who they think about you, the perceptions of others concerning you. But at the end of the day, it is what you believe about yourself. It is what you tell yourself that you will take and run with. So it is very important for you to change the language, the way you talk to yourself, become positive in your thought processes. Be sure that you act with the mindset that you desire. Begin to reason the way you want to be seen. Begin to dress the way you want to be addressed. Begin to talk the way you want to be heard. Be sure that who you are today is a reflection of who you aspire to become tomorrow. Don't just say, oh, woe is me, this is where I am today, so the suffering continues, the hustle is real. We know it is real, but you must have a picture of where you're going to, and you consistently continue to work towards that picture. It is important for you to continually learn and apply that knowledge that you are gathering around you so that you can become better. Surround yourself with people that are already accomplishing the things that you want to do, or at least are trying to go to the same destination that you're trying to go. If you're flying to Paris and you're sitting down at the airport in Heathrow with someone going to Kazakhstan, you're going to miss your flight. So don't sit around or surround yourself with people that are going in the opposite direction. You want to surround yourself with individuals that are thinking about the same things you're thinking about. Remember, networking is about ideas. It's about information. It's about staying true to what you both find as a platform for commonality. And be ready at all times to start creating habits that would enable you to be success. At the nearest opportunity you have, and we'll talk a little bit more about that today, get ready to jump out of your comfort zone. Comfort is the greatest adversary to progress. Let me say that again. Comfort is your greatest adversary to progress. As long as you are comfortable, you will not grow. Comfort says, I am okay, I don't need the pain, I don't need to make the extra effort. Until continuous improvement becomes your mindset, until change on a continuous basis becomes your philosophy, you become obsolete in no time. Somebody was talking a while back and said, man, look at me, I just bought my Windows 95. Yes, great. That was about 25 years ago. If Windows have not continuously evolved, it will have become an obsolete technology. Do you know how many platforms have started that are no longer to be found? Let me give you an example. There was Hi-Fi, there was MySpace. There were all these social media platforms that existed long before Facebook. But the only reason why you don't even know they ever existed or they no longer exist is because they stopped evolving. Change must be the consistent language that you speak in order to remain relevant. You must continue to study. You must continue to read. You must continue to acquire new knowledge, and don't just stop there or surround yourself, but be sure you become uncomfortable. It's so crazy that I wake up in the morning, even if I have tons of stuff to do, even if I don't have anything to do, like clockwork, I'm up by 5:30 and I start looking for something to do. I find books to read, or I have projects I need to work on. What are the things that keep you to continually grow? What are the things that push you outside of your comfort zone? What are the things that you are doing on a daily basis that are driving you beyond where you are to where you want to be? If you have not arrived at the destination that you consider your ultimate life place, then you have ways to go. And pain, if you've been through PTM, we'll talk about pain. Pain is your friend, because pain tells you that you are too comfortable. Pain tells you that there's room for growth. Pain tells you that you are on the track or on the journey to something. So you must get to that point where you embrace pain, because pain is your friend. And I'm not talking about the kind of banging pain that makes you want to roll up in the ball and cry to your mama. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about the pains of growth, the pains of progress. Staying up late at night, burning that midnight candle to make sure that you pass that exam, because that will be your key to the next level. Making sure that you improve, develop yourself, pass those certification and board exams so that you can be qualified to enter that position. Making sure you do your research, your investigation, do all the discoveries that you need to do to package that project properly, so that when you deliver it, anybody can look at this and say, wow, this person is prepared and they deserve to do this work. That is the pain we're talking about. Willingness to pay the price that will cause you to grow into the next level. Because when you start doing that, you begin to realize that you now have a go into relationships with a giving first mentality. It's not, you go in there, it's not because you're looking for anything. Oftentimes you are actually looking for something, but oftentimes you come in giving first, and that giving creates the platform for you to move to the next level. And be sure that you're very deliberate about reconnecting with people. We'll talk a little bit more about that and how you can do that effectively, and then leverage network platforms that currently exist. But it is not all about connecting everybody to yourself. You must also be ready to connect other people as well. The quality of your network is often a reflection of how much you're willing to trade. Trading may not be directly, but as you're introducing other people, they begin to see that this person does not think only about himself or herself. And so they also begin to open you up to opportunities. What are the relationships that you need? Sow the seed. Everything is a seed. You introduce people to other people, it's a seed. Seed produces like kind. It will produce after itself. It's so funny that a few days ago, I was talking to a friend of mine and they were like, oh no, right now I'm all about myself. And I said, wow, you're all about yourself? Yes, right now I don't care about anybody else in the world. It's just me. I just care about me, my family, my kids right now. I mean, nobody. I said, you know what? Here's the crazy thing about seeds. While you're acting like this, everybody around your network and circle of influence are observing that right now it's all about you, your kids, your family, your spouse, and everything that is around you. And that's all that matters. You don't care who you tread upon, and it's all about you. You are going to find yourself in a rough spot when you need all those people, and they will remember the seed that you sowed. Learn to connect other people. Live with a network mindset. It will change everything about who you are. Now let's get ready into, now I just wanted to do that refresher because I thought it was important for us to do that. So quickly, let's do a quick poll here. And this is the focus of this next poll. This next poll focuses on the question around barriers. What are your greatest barriers to networking? You can pick as many that apply to you, and there's a reason why we're trying to do this. What are your greatest barriers to networking? Polls are open. Please answer as much as you can. Herd mentality. For instance, you walk into a place, there are a lot of people. So because of that, you are not even able to walk up to them and say hello, or you want to connect with the people. You see somebody that you want to connect to, but because the person is surrounded with, friends and acquaintances, and so you just back away because you know you're. So what are some of the things that have prevented you? You don't have to choose all 10. but you need to pick the ones that apply to you. I'll give you a few minutes to do this. What are your greatest barriers to networking? Feel free to pick as many as you can. Don't pick all 10. We're talking about your greatest. I will encourage you, don't pick more than 3, all right? So that we can make the most of the data that we're getting. What are your greatest barriers to networking? I'll give you about 2 minutes to complete that. Interesting. I'm looking at the polls as they're coming in. About half of you have completed the poll, so let's keep going. About 28 of you have voted. We still have about more than half of you that still need to vote. We're at 75% complete. 80%, 82%. Let's go. We're almost there. We have about a minute to go. It's almost as if there are these 7 people that have vowed that they will never vote in this lifetime. Let's go ahead and get it. Let's break that jinx today. So come on, let's hear your voice. This is, and more importantly, I want you to know that this is it's an anonymous vote, so nobody knows what you're voting. Even I don't have access to that data. So let's hear your voice so that you'll be able to know and learn the things that you need to learn. I'll give this about 30 more seconds. $15 more seconds. We're at 85%. 10 more seconds. All right, well, I can't wait anymore. So there we go. So let's share these results with you so you can see where we are. So based on these polls, it shows that the number one concern for people is the fear of embarrassment. Does anybody find that surprising? Probably not. It's the fear of embarrassment. Fear of embarrassment is number one, is the biggest concern that most of us have. And then we have the next big concern is around sociocultural differences, talking about people of a different caliber, a different status, a different social background. So that in itself prevents some people from networking. Then you're talking about who we are. I'm an introvert, or that I don't know where to meet the right people. And then close seconds follow up. But the biggest fear, the biggest concern that has prevented people from networking is the one question around the fear of embarrassment or being rejected. All right, so now let's move forward. Let's move forward here. So let's look at some barriers. What is a barrier? A barrier is simply an obstacle that prevents movement or access. A barrier is simply an obstacle that prevents movement, progress, or access. You see, one of the greatest gifts that any human being can give you is the gift of access. Access to them, access to their network, access to their relationships, to their family, to their friends. The greatest gift you can get from any human being is not money, it is access. Access to learn the things that they know. Access to be able to glean from their years of knowledge and insight. I don't care who I know. One of the greatest things that I protect with all of my heart are the accesses that I have. There are men and women whose phone numbers I have. I can call them anytime. I don't call them to just for the sake of calling. For me, the most important thing is access. I travel halfway across the world to go visit with some of my mentors and just spend the evening with them just to listen to them. Why? The gift of access. That can only be possible with access. I still remember a very interesting story that happened about 10 years ago. I have one of my mentors, if I mention his name, many of you know him, and I hadn't seen him for about 12 years. 12 years I hadn't seen him. And because I was mad at him because, there was a misunderstanding, I completely misunderstood and I just got upset and I moved on. 12 years I never saw him. Eventually, I got to see him somewhere in Chicago, and he and I we spoke and everything. And he said, "I didn't even know that I offended you." I was like, "Well, I'm sorry. I was just having a moment, and I apologized and everything." But something interesting happened at that meeting. There were thousands of people. When I was able to get in contact with him and I came, he stopped everything that he was doing and said, "Dala, where have you been? My son, come here." So I was walking up to him and everybody was wondering, like, who's that? And it was interesting that his personal assistants and his staff, they were around him. And he said something interesting. He turned to his personal assistant and said, "Give him my cell phone number." And the assistant was asking, "Is it my number or the office?" He said, "Is it your phone? Please give him my personal phone number." Why? Because of the relationship. And here's the interesting thing. Whenever I show up to see him, irrespective of what's going on, I call him, he says, "Just come on down." Even when he's busy, he makes time to spend with me, even if it is just for an hour. Why? Because of the gift of access, being able to honor that relationship for decades produces things that other people may not get. Even I think a few years ago, I decided to take my team at that time to go visit with him. And in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m. in the morning, he said, "Bring everybody to the office. I'll come meet with all of you." Why? Because you have to work towards developing and sustaining certain relationships, certain access points, because those access points will help you continue to move forward. You have to honor relationships. What is an obstacle or a barrier? A barrier is something that blocks or is intended to block passage. Your goal is the passage, it's the access point. Your objective, the thing that you're trying to accomplish is in front of you. But one of the keys of one of the accents or progress points or action points in your life is networking, because you need people, you need relationships, you need opportunities, you need doors to be open. But if you're not positioned where those relationships can be formed to help you keep moving forward, you will be blocked. A barrier is a natural formation or structure that prevents or hinders movement or action. There are things you want to do, but you can't progress because you feel you are blocked by a barrier. And the crazy thing about barriers is they're natural and they are unnatural, meaning this is who you are. Think about an example of a natural barrier. You are an introvert. It is just who you are. You don't like people. You're a recluse. In fact, when there was a pandemic announced and they said everybody stays home, you were dancing hallelujah in your underwear at home. Said, "Thank God, I don't have to deal with human beings again." You were all excited because that is naturally who you are. It's uncomfortable for you to connect or relate with other people. So every time you have the opportunity to come home and be by yourself, it feels like heaven. But there are people who, once you mention pandemic, they're like, "What? We can't visit other people." Oh my God, you've like changed their whole perspective. All right. So you need to figure out ways to get over both natural and unnatural barriers. Barriers that are internal, barriers that are external. But our focus on today's session is more around internal barriers, which are more about who you are, the perceptions that you create, the mindset you've developed over time. How can you overcome that and become successful? And that is what our focus is today. So here are 10 things we talked about during the course of this session. We talked about the fact that there's a herd mentality. What is that barrier looking like? You walk into a place and there are 10 people standing there, and the one person or two people you want to connect to are standing with their group of friends. You don't even know how to approach that person. That is a barrier. Number two, you feel you're introverted. You just you just feel like I can't get out of my box. It's so unnatural for me to even talk to people. For other people, it is not knowing what to say. Some people just don't know what to say. You know, oftentimes people think the best way to start a conversation is just walk over and just say, yeah, what do you do for a living? But that question has gotten old real quick. So a lot of people do not even know what to say. Have you ever practiced an elevator pitch, and then you're standing in the elevator with the person they're supposed to pitch it to, and you don't know what to say? You just look at them and you say, good afternoon, sir. Beautiful day, right? Yes. Then they leave the elevator and you're like, what just happened? An opportunity presented itself, but you did not know what to say. So it is so critical for you to know what to say. In some people, it's just social cultural differences. They're so concerned about the fact that I am not in the same economic or social caliber or status with this people or this person, and so I can't connect with them. And when we're talking about networking, it's not only just in business or in other things, it's even in relationships. There's a guy or a gal that you've always admired for a long time, you get to know them, but you just feel like I can't even talk to this person because they're not in my class. That is just the reality. The fact of the matter is that if you can overcome that internalized perspective, it can change even the external influences around you. Some it's previous experience. You've tried to connect with other people and you got hurt, you got pained, you went through something that was so painful that it's changed your outlook towards networking. For some, it's just a lack of self-confidence. They have no sense of security in themselves. They're insecure, because all that a person will say is that they're just afraid this person might say something that's going to hurt my feelings, or, I don't know, I just feel I'm not good enough. Let me tell you something. If you're breathing, you're good enough. If you can think, you're good enough. If you can function as a human being with such amazing, intricate design, this dynamic nature that makes up who you are, you're good enough. No human being can, should ever judge you. Your frailty, your faults, your mistakes do not define who you are. They are just part of the journey to who you will become. So never allow the opinions of others shape who you are or who you will become. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Every time you look at yourself in the mirror, give yourself a smack on the side of the head and say, God, you created something awesome. Be excited about who you are. Never live in insecurity. Never live in doubt. Never live in fear, because you are awesome. If you don't know how awesome you are, get a paint pad or something and take a thumbprint and print it up and blow it up and look at it. There are billions of people that have walked through the earth and none of them has your thumbprint. That makes you awesome. It doesn't matter who that person is, that relationship that hurt you, or who that person was that abused you all your life, that left you scarred, broken, bruised, and messed up. But every morning you wake up, look at yourself in the mirror and say, you are great, you're beautiful, you're smart, you are awesome, you can do great things. Anything you set your mind to do, you can accomplish. Wow, the earth is excited and blessed to have me. If you can think that way, you begin to change the way you think. I have one of the most confident 9-year-old daughters that the world has ever seen. She does not believe there's anything she cannot do. She does not believe that there's any human being better than her. She's 9 years old. I hear her say some things and I said, God, I thought I was bad. Now I know what you talk about genetic multiplication. This one is worse than me when it comes to confidence. Her confidence is off the charts. But it's a beautiful thing to watch, because your kids, your generation yet unborn, are also going to be reflective of who you are. They are constantly observing you. If you're timid, if you're always hiding in the back, if you're always waiting for the scraps, that is the same mentality that your children are going to have. Most of you, the insecurities that you're dealing with today are not products of the environment you live in today. They are fabrications or fallouts from the environment in which you grew. You watched your father behave like that. You watched your mother behave like that. You watched your uncle or whoever raised you, your teachers. You watched them live as second-class citizens in their own environment, or third class, or as bottom feeders. And naturally, that mindset became ingrained in who you are. And so you are approaching life with the same mentality. And if you don't break out of it right now, what's going to happen is that your children are going to start replicating the same things. I tell people without an apology, I said, as far as I'm concerned, in my entire lineage, traced back all the way to Adam, I am perhaps the smartest and the wealthiest of my entire generation, right back to Adam in the Bible, in my lineage. And somebody thinks that that's being known. I'm like, no, that is what I think and that's what I believe. What do you believe about yourself? You must get to that point where you overcome your insecurities. The fear of embarrassment, that is the number one thing. Remember, the fear of embarrassment, everything else that we talk about is tied to the fear of embarrassment. Insecurity, previous hurt, rejection, a feeling of intimidation, everything around the entire nine. And if I intentionally put that question way down because I wanted to see where you respond. The fear of embarrassment is the one singular driver that has prevented people from networking. All other nine are hinged on the fear of embarrassment or the fear of rejection. That's it. It's fear. But what overcomes fear? Love. The willingness to take a risk. If you need to breathe, we said we have COVID-19 in town, but how many of you have stopped breathing? It's a respiratory disease, right? But how many of you have stopped breathing? You go out of the street. Why don't you just go down the street and you hold your breath that I am not breathing today because COVID is in town? Let's see how far. You know you have to breathe. So even though you know that there is a prospect and the possibility of being rejected or being humiliated or whatever it is, still step out there, because you understand that networking is a key to your success. It is imperative, but don't go and act weird. You must be very strategic in approaching relationships, and we'll talk about that so that you will be able to know how to go about building a strong network. For some people, it's just the awkwardness of starting a conversation. You have to learn how to start developing those relationships, right? So you won't just go and stand next to someone like I was saying earlier in the day and said, yeah, it's a beautiful day outside. How's the weather? Yes. That's just awkward. It has to be natural. Remember, it's about being in a social, comfortable, or informal setting. Learn to practice on a regular basis. And how do you practice? By just connecting with people you know. Let me tell you something. There is hardly any day that I go out to work or on the streets that I don't connect with people. It's crazy. And people don't understand this about me. Here's the truth. If you know me very, very well, you will know that I'm an introvert. Most people don't know that because I'm always out and going. I'm always comfortable around people. I always express myself when I need to. You see me on stage speaking to thousands of people. You think that, but the fact of the matter is that I am very introverted, but people don't know that. Let me make a confession to you. The first time I had to speak publicly, oh God, this is being recorded, but I'm still going to say it. There's a lot of things that the blood has covered. The first time I needed to speak to a group of people because I was running for office in university on campus, I had to go drink a few bottles just to get, the buzz and get my confidence on and walk in there and be like, yeah, I'm ready, vote for me, and I don't know what I honestly don't remember what I said, but I won the election. Okay, and that was while I was in college. That was in my 20s, right? In my early 20s. I had to do that just to run for a political office. But people don't know that. That was me, and that is naturally who I am because I'm introverted by nature. If I'm out and about, I would rather be in the house. I'm in this house all by myself. My family's out of town. I'm in this house all by myself. And I can be in this house for the next 1 month and I won't even step outside. As long as I have food inside, I'm good. But if I'm out and about, it's very difficult for me to walk by anybody in my office or at work or in my business place and see somebody that I haven't seen before and not say hello to them. I will walk up to them. There's several of you on this call that I've just walked up to and say, hey, how are you doing? I'm Dala. Nice to meet you. Why? Not because I want anything from you, but because I don't know when I will need you and I don't know when you will need me. I understand that networking is intentional, and so I approach it with that mindset. It is critical for you to begin to learn that in order for you to identify the right people, you must know also where to meet the right people. It's not just about just make it a part of who you are, but also know where to meet the right people. Go to the right places. You don't go to the you don't go to I'm trying to think about the right word. If you want to buy a car, you don't go into a grocery store, right? If you want to buy groceries, you don't go to a car shop. You go to the right place for the right product. There are platforms for networking. You just got to know which one it is. And for you to know which network platform works for you, you've got to know what your goals are. And for some people, it's that feeling of being intimidated by people who know more than them. It's okay. Here's the thing I need you to know. If you are ever the smartest person in a room, then you're in the wrong room. Remember that. If you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room with the wrong people for the wrong reason. I surround myself with people that are smarter than me. Here's the truth. On this call right now, I have people that I look up to. On this call right now, I have people that are experts in their space and I know nothing about it. But they are here listening because I know something that they don't know. And at the end of this call, some of them will call me and tell me another dimension of what I said that I didn't know. And I'm comfortable with that. I'm good with that. Why? Because I have to be a lifelong learner. Surround yourself with people that know better than you, but be sure to also bring something to the table. I have a large number of people that work for me today, thank God, but it did not happen overnight. I've constantly built myself. But every time I sit down with those people to talk, I always want to hear what they have to say, because as far as I'm concerned, they are smarter than me in a lot of those areas. They know things about me that I don't know. They know where my weaknesses are, and so they can strengthen me in that space. They have experiences that I've never had, and so they bring that value to the table. Surround yourself with people that know better than you, and you also will look better. If you want to be the rock star in every room, then good luck to you. You've already laid the foundation for how high you can go in life. Learn to be comfortable being around people that know better than you. So let's look at one more poll before we go. This is our third poll for the day. So here's the question we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at what we consider to be our motivators. The question is, I will be more comfortable networking if, select all that apply to you. I will be more comfortable networking if. The goal of this polls is so that you can be able to look inwardly and begin to recognize where your problems are. So there are I give you 5 options. I have a lot of money. If I have a lot of money, I can network. I can swag into a room and network with anybody. If I'm of a different gender, maybe networking, maybe if I was a guy or a gal, I might do better. I feel better about myself. I don't know. I just feel intimidated. I don't feel too. Is that your driver? It's easier for me to network when I'm the center of the attention in the room, where I'm just like, yo, what's up? How you doing? Hey, man, I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, nice to meet you. What is your thing? Or for some people, they can network better if they bring a buddy, so that they can hide behind that person and, you know, get introduced, and at least they have somebody to keep talking to if nobody else wants to talk to them. What is it for you? What are the true statements? I will be more comfortable networking if, pick any of the 5 that applies to you, or any of as many of them that apply to you. 60% of you have voted. We have just, I'll give you about 2 more minutes to do this, because this is very important. Herein lies the solution to your challenge. So on this vote, it would be great if we had 100%, because this is so critical. This is going to drive a lot of your decisions. 78% have voted. I'll give you 1 more minute. 80% have voted. Forty more seconds. Thirty more seconds. There are 8 of you that haven't voted yet. Please vote real quick so we can move on. Okay, 85% of you have voted, and we're out of time. All right, so let me share the outcome or the results of this poll with you. I now see those last people, those last folks are hurrying to vote now. You know what? I'm going to give you 30 more seconds just so you can get done. I hate that. I don't want to cut you off in the middle of it, but 20 more seconds, and I'm just going to kill it at that point. We need to move. We're already behind on time. 15. This changes my results. So gender, 3%. Okay. Attention, 8. All right, we're done. So let me share this with you. Look at that. Look at those results. 2 things. How do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about yourself is the number 1 thing that would motivate me to network better. Does that tie into the question of feeling embarrassed? I don't feel so great about myself, and so I don't want to be embarrassed. So if you look at the bottom line, it all comes back to me. If you look at the next highest denominator here, 23 of you voted for that, said, if I'm the company of people that I know, what does that mean? It means that these people already know me the way I am, and they've accepted me. And so if they're there to give me that emotional support, then I will try to network with others. So at the end of the day, it actually comes back to what you believe about yourself. It ultimately comes down to what it is that you as an individual believe about yourself. So if that is the case, what can I do to be different? What can I do to change that perspective? What can I do to, improve my outcomes. It goes back to that mindset because it all begins with me. Remember last week we talked about Dr. Carol Dweck's work. We talked about the mindset, the two different types of mindsets. We talked about the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. It means that our biggest problem is that many of us, about 64% of us, because both poles with regards to motivation and with regards to barriers reflect that we are still operating with a fixed mindset. That fixed mindset looks internally and says that I will continue to avoid challenges because it's an obstacle I have to overcome. I give up on obstacles because I'm not even going to try. That means I am willing to accept life without progress and movement and access. I will continue to view effort as something that is fruitless, or it's futile because it does not produce results. I will continue to ignore criticism or constructive criticism because it's a reflection of who I am. That is just because people don't like me because I am not good enough, or they feel threatened by the success of others. Now, can we be deliberate about moving? Can I change my mindset about challenges and obstacles and start embracing every challenge that comes my way? Can I be deliberate about taking on obstacles as something for me to be persistent on to overcome? Will I get to that point where I begin to see effort as something that I need to master? I need to develop efficiencies and proficiencies around things that will make me better. Can I learn from my mistakes, or someone gives me feedback, be it constructive criticism, or even if you're from that part of the world where criticism is a bash down on who you are, I will take the ugly and bring out the good in it. No matter what type of criticism you receive, there's always an iota of light in it that you can leverage. Maybe it's the success of others. Rather than getting upset, feeling jealous, or feel threatened, maybe I should be inspired. Maybe that is my opportunity to go ask questions and say, hey, how did you accomplish this? How did you go about this? Ask, not because I want anything from them, but because I am trying to learn what made them who they are. We must begin to shift our mindset. We must move from a fixed mindset that is so staunchly tied to your failures, a mindset that tells you you're not good enough, a mindset that says you will never amount to anything. I don't know who is watching me right now, but there's someone that needs to hear this right now, and I mean it. You've been abused. I don't know if it was in a relationship. You've been used. You've been torn down. And so you've decided to say, I'm going to move on. But even in the context of moving on, you are constantly being reminded of the past, because there is a part of your life, I'm not sure if it's kids or whatever it is, that ties you back to that past. I'm not sure if it is pain or losses or financial difficulty. There is something that ties you to that past. Maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a family member. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. It might have been some form of sexual abuse or emotional abuse or physical abuse or whatever it is, but you've been abused in ways that nobody on this call can understand or appreciate. I want to tell you right now that if you can look forward, your past will give up on you. Your past is there to remind you that there are people that have experienced such pains, and here's the fact: you are here today, you're hearing this right now. That is a clear reminder that there's hope for you, and you will still do better and brighter in your future. Don't give up. Never look down on yourself. Never feel less about yourself. You cannot account for the actions and the behaviors of other people, but you can take responsibility for your life. Go get an education. Go pursue your dream. Go on those vacations that you've aspired for. Don't allow life beat you down. Take on the bull by the horn and create a roadmap for the future that you dream about, so that your children and your children's children can remember you as the patriarch or as the matriarch of their family who created a vision, a roadmap, a future, a pathway that nobody in the entire generation will have dreamt about. That is you. That is the fire that has been quenched inside of you. That is the flame that someone has tried to pour water and douse and try to shut down. If you let it shut down, it is not a cause of victory for that person, but it's a cause of pain for you because you've robbed the earth of something that it desires greatly. There's something in you that needs to find expression. Cut off from the past. Begin to look to the future. Begin to grow your mind. Begin to change the way you think. And let me just tell you something that I do that can help you. Make it a habit. Every time you stand in front of the mirror, look at yourself and remind yourself of who you can become, who you are. And one good way of doing that is taking time to reminisce or reflect, depending on what it is that you're thinking about. Observe who you are today and try to think about who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. If you can do that, oh my God, you are going to look in the mirror and see yourself and your eyes are going to pop wide open and you're going to be like, my, I've come this far. If I can make it this far, then by God, I'm going to make it further up. That is who you need to become. Because until you begin to appreciate how far you've come, you will not become a candidate to go further than you've attained. It's time to start looking forward. I just felt I needed to say that because I don't know who that is going to help, but please, the future is bright. Don't give up on it. Now, we have a few things that I'm going to run through with you, but before I do that, there's one last poll that we'd like to see you take. And this poll has to do with your commitment to progress. Your commitment to progress. There are 4 questions that you need to answer real quick. Did you learn something new from today's session? Because at the end of this, I'm going to open up the line. We're going to break out into rooms. There are things we're going to do for about a few minutes that are so important. Did you learn something new from this session? It's a yes or no question. Will you complete the assigned tasks for this week? It's a yes or no question. Will you attend the last session, which is going to be next Saturday at the same time? Will you be interested in attending an extensive, because we're talking about 3 hours in a month. So just touching high level. Will you be interested in something a lot more intensive, a lot more extensive on the Private Transformation Network on either this or similar topics? I'm really interested in knowing that. And then we're going to get into today's assignments. All right. We're going to be quick about this. I'm going to give you 1 minute. So please vote as quickly as you can. Half of you have already done so. We're almost there. We're at 70%. Okay, 20 more seconds. We're at 5%. $15 more seconds. There are those 6 people that are sworn to the end of this world that they will never vote. That's okay. All right, we're going to end the polls right here. So 97% of you said you learned something new today. That is huge. That is great. Good to know. 97% of you said you will complete the assignment. I'm going to ask next week and I'm going to trust that you do it. 94% of you said, will you attend the last session last week? That means there are a few of you that aren't sure, and that is okay. And then 94% of you said you'll be interested. So that means that the least I can do is to make plans to hold sessions like this on an ongoing basis. If you're on this call, it means you registered, we have your information. So we'll plan to do something on a regular basis that will be able to help you grow and become better. All right, so good. Thank you so much for doing that. So now there are a couple of quick things that we need to get done so that we can get out of here. Here's your second assignment. Okay, Here's the second assignment. Your second assignment focuses on a couple of things. Number one, it focuses on grouping your contacts into 3 categories. Remember last week we talked about the 3 categories of relationships you need to maintain within a network: mentors, peers, proteges. So this week, make sure you go through your contacts and group them. Most phones allow you to do that. Group all contacts into 3 categories: mentors, peers, and proteges. That's your assignment. Number 2, establish a cadence to stay in constant contact. What does that mean? Put it on your calendar or something, some way to remind you to stay in contact with these individuals that you're going to identify. Maybe it's weekly, maybe it's monthly, but make sure you establish a constant cadence where you can stay connected with them. And then thirdly, make a commitment to reconnect with at least 3 core contacts. 3. 1 protege, 1 peer, and one mentor that you've not been in contact for a while, and you need to do this no later than Tuesday of next week. No later than Tuesday. You make that commitment that between now and Tuesday, I am going to get in contact with at least 3 people in my group, and then we'll go from there. Now, this is very critical, all right? I'm going to leave this up for a second, and then what we're going to do now is this. I want to encourage, I'm going to break you up into rooms. You're going to be about 4 to 5 people in the room, and you're going to come back into this room. You're going to have about 5 minutes. The first thing you need to do is that you need to identify, please remember this, identify 1 person in your room to be the spokesperson, because 10 of you will come back and give a report of what it is that you accomplished in that room. So 5 of you in each room, list out 1 thing. What is the 1 greatest lesson that you learned in the last 1 hour plus? What is the 1 greatest lesson you learned? That's the first question. And number 2, what are you going to do to change it, or to use it, or to reinforce it, whatever it is that applies to you? All right. So please make sure you get that. And then I have 1 quick thing that I'm going to add at the end of this session. So you're welcome to break into your rooms right now. We are back. All right, welcome back, everyone. So I am going to challenge and encourage you to, we're going to start with room number 1 and go down that list from 1 through 10. So once you're ready, please, let's get started. Room number 1. Unmute yourself and speak, please. Room number 1, you can... Room number 1, unmute yourself and speak.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay, good evening.
My name is Oluwakemi. Bello. I represent room number 1, which comprises of Adefunke, Sharks, and Hansen. And this evening, we have been able to come together, even though we learned different things. I will try and put it together in a minute or 2.
Let's give it to a minute. Let's give it to a minute, please.
Okay, just 1 minute. Through this, our podcast tonight, we have been able to see that networking is not rocket science. It is possible. Apparently, the fears we have been hosting in our hearts has been a figment of our imagination. For example, an analogy that you made: if you want to get groceries, you don't go to a car shop. Also, our comfort zone most of the time is our adversary to growth. We have to be able to leave our comfort zone at every point in time so we don't get complacent at that position. By so doing, it will hinder our growth. But if we can move out, then we know everything we want to achieve is possible through networking. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Kemi. Room 2.
Okay. My name is Ijomo Kolo from the room 2. We looked at 4 things. 1, the smartest, you shouldn't aim to be the smartest person in the room. If you are in a room where you're the smartest, that means you're not growing anymore.
Yep.
And then another one, we looked at, we need to relate, have a positive mindset. speak to ourselves, understand that we are the best we should be. God created us well. Then we need to also relate with people. We should learn to, have time with people, to network, which will help us to help others, and also we might meet other people who can help us. Then also we look at the gift of aspect. So we should learn to have a good mindset and not fixed mindset, and that will help us. And those were the basic things we looked at. Thank you.
Thank you. Room 3.
Okay, we may be room 3. This is Kelly. What we identified as a major barrier for many of us was actually staying in touch. So tactics to follow up, we thought were very helpful, specifically to categorize contacts and schedule follow-ups. We also saw an emphasis on having a positive and open mind and taking risks. We enjoyed that, as well as just to say affirmations to ourselves. So those were some main takeaways that this group had.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. Room 4. All right, room 5. We'll get back to 4. Room number 5.
All right, good evening, sir. My name is Uriel. What
Go
we
ahead,
got,
sir.
our takeaway. All right, sir. Our takeaway from our session, from this session in our room, is the fact that number one, other people's opinion should not become your reality. Other people's opinion should not become your reality. Do not be intimidated by what others think about you. Secondly, your mindset. There's a need for a major paradigm shift. We need to create an environment for belief. Put pictures around us of where we're going, not just pictures of our past, but pictures of the future we desire. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Thank you. Room number 6.
Yeah, me see, that's us.
One important thing we learned was that we need to honor the access we have to people. We shouldn't take it for granted. And then we should be intentional about relationship. We should identify the people we admire and we aspire to be like and pursue them. I mean, go after them and learn from them. And we should be a lifelong learner.
Awesome. Thank you. Room number 7.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So room number 7, we're just sure, but one of the two takeaways from there were basically being introverted. Most of them realized we're being introverted and letting go of their past. So they've learned that being introvert, they've learned about being better about themselves, recognizing that they're the only better person in the whole wide world, and also letting go of their past and know who they are and what they can do. Also knowing that their capabilities beyond their imagination. So two takeaways is that being introverted, and they're ready to break out of that and letting go of the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Room number 8.
Yeah. Okay, Faith, are you speaking? Yes.
Room number 8. Do you want to come? Does somebody else in room number 8 want to speak for the group, or?
I think I should.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
We learned 3 things. I learned that I can learn from anybody. I realized that I can learn from anybody, meaning that I shouldn't be the only one that has all the knowledge in the world. And while we're having this Zoom meeting, somebody actually chatted me up asking about what I do. Somebody actually see as, oh, I'm only the one giving her information, and she asked about what I do and give my contact to another person, and this can actually lead to a business deal. So I'm so excited that I'm actually bringing in people around me and I'm working on my contacts. Said that she's learning to walk past her peers in order to effectively network. That's because she feels like she's an introvert, and now that she has learned in this class that she shouldn't have anything stop her from networking, so she's going to start working on herself. And then Mr. Charles, he said he has learned that he can plan from his contacts to network. So he already has his contact there, and now he's going to start planning on networking with them. Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you. Room number 9.
Hi Dala, this is Venkat. Hi everyone in the group. I have the privilege of working under Dala. So going to the points, major barriers, we don't have the self-confidence in ourselves. That's one. Not to be intimidated by people. That's 2. And the action items is, the actions that networking is very important in life. So the actions we need to do is like build the self-confidence in ourselves to network with people. And we also need to make sure that we surround with people of similar thoughts and mindset. Thank you.
Thank you. Room number 10. Room number 10. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't know if you're still there. This is Victor. Okay, Banji, go ahead.
Okay, sir. What we learned was that very first thing was that the events that will eventually happen in our lives are not just shaped by the opportunities around us, but the people that we have in our network. And then the second one was the importance of grouping our contacts and the people in our network and scheduling the follow-up to check up on them and connect with them regularly. I think that's it.
Thank you. Room number 4, back to you. Number 4. Okay. Well, looks like room number 4, they're either too shy to speak up or they've all dropped from the call. Whichever the case might be. So let's do one more thing. Let me answer as many questions as I can at this point. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So if you need to ask questions, please go ahead, open up your lines and ask your questions. So this is just me now sitting down here waiting for your questions. You can type it into the chat box, or if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question, that would be great. I see someone said most of them did not have time enough to discuss. Please feel free to also type that into this place. And we're way above our time, and I know I'm just trying to be respectful of that. So if you have any ideas or things you want to share, please share them in the chat. We'll also try to capture those. Or if you feel the need to unmute yourself and come on the call and maybe make a comment or ask a question along those lines, feel free to do so.
Yeah, good, sir. And this is Bridget.
How are you? Go ahead.
Yeah. One of the things I also learned was you portray now either fear or introvert or whatever, or your state of belief. Your children will also take. So, but one other question I have is, you have so many, like I have so many networks that I'm into, but the how to find it difficult putting my words in the right way, and at the end of the day, sometimes I just put it, and luckily it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. But how do I overcome that fear of, okay, how to present what I want to present?
So your question is that you have an existing network, but you are not comfortable about presenting to them? Is that your question? Because I didn't.
Okay, yes. The question is now, but I know that in this network, I can have some people, as in to have them to myself or to have them come into my tribe. But presenting it in a way attractive is my challenge.
But you see, it's not about going to build a formal structure and say, this is my tribe. It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
And thank you for your question, by the way. It doesn't work. It does not work that way. In order for you, please, Bridget, please mute your line. If you're done asking your question, mute your line. Vanji, mute your line, please. It's not about saying, okay, 5 of you are my mentors. It doesn't work that way. It's relational. It should happen organically. I don't know, and the only person that should know what your network looks like is you. Nobody else should see it. So it's not as if you go around with this organizational chart that reflects who your network is. You can choose to have one if that matters to you, but it's you personally. So you don't invite people into your network. You build a relationship with them, and they remain in this invisible web called your network. Okay? Think about it like a spider. A spider has a network around where it operates, and oftentimes you will not see it until you've already run into it face first. So your network is an invisible prism that is around you, and it only comes into play when you need it. All right, it's a web that only you see, only you understand, and you continue to grow. But it's not something that you have to go invite people intentionally and say, I'm building a network, so please be a part of it. It's not like network marketing. Network marketing leverages your network, right? So, but the thing is that when a lot of people, if you look at the people who are usually at the top of most network marketing chains, those are people who already have influence or have established a known network. It's easy for them to talk to people about new products and services and that kind of stuff. So they start calling their friends, their families, and all those kind of people, and everybody starts jumping on top of it. So, but it's different for somebody who is introverted or somebody who is not comfortable or who feels that even though the service and product you're bringing, will add a lot of value to people, but you're not comfortable talking to them about it because it is just not your domain. You're not called out to be a salesperson. You're supposed to be more of an accountant in the basement with a red stapler. Maybe that's your thing. But at the end of the day, what you should be looking for is that you must be in a position where you have a group of people or a growing prism of people around you that will be able to help you be successful professionally, personally, privately, publicly, wherever it is the domains that you operate. It's more important for you to build that with a sense that this is my future that I'm working on. And remember, networks aren't only for making money. It's also for peace of mind. It's for your family. It's for your future and a whole lot more than that. Okay? So be very deliberate about it. And I know that one of the challenges of people in developing nations is that everybody's just thinking about the next meal. Poverty has driven us to a point where all we think about is, what can I get now? How can I put the next meal on the table? You've got to think bigger than that. You've got to think holistically. You've got to think years ahead. You've got to think way ahead. In fact, if I were you, I will have a vision for the next 10, 20 years. If you can do that, then you realize that the network that you're so desperate to meet today because you want to sell evergreen or ever young or whatever those products are, you'll find out that that's the least of your concerns. If you build a strong network, it's easy for you to push any product, service, or thing you want to do. Thankfully for me, it was easy for me to, we have what we call Private Transformation Network, which a lot of you are members of. It was easy for us to drive it in a nation like Nigeria because I already had an established network of leaders and people in influential positions. So it's a question of just reaching out to those people and say, hey, I would like to do this, and this. And they started leveraging their own network to become part of it. And then it expanded and we created a network in that part of the world. The same thing all over the world. So leverage your network. It is a personal value. Remember, I told you last week, I said your network oftentimes determines your net worth. All right. So it is very important for you to know that it's an invisible platform nobody else sees but you. I hope that answers your question. Samson asked the question, does it mean that extroverts are naturally skilled to network, as we didn't mention them in the barriers? It's not natural. They may be more comfortable in that space, but it's not that it is a natural skill for them, because being extroverted does not mean the end of it. Or you could be an extrovert and always end up saying the wrong thing, or behaving the wrong way, or not having the right thing, or not having the right conduct, or maybe just being loud, obnoxious, and nobody wants to connect with you. So it's also about learning the skills, and that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the refinement skills and a lot of those other details next week. So it's a lot more than just being. That's why I said the introverted piece of it has to do with who you are. An extrovert has no problem meeting new people. An extrovert has no problem walking up to a new person and introducing themselves and pretty much making, a fool of themselves if they need to, because they're okay with it. That's just their comfort zone, and they don't care what most people think. That is a great attitude to have, but there's also a different side of that, right? There are certain skills, capabilities that you need to be able to address. For the extrovert, these barriers, some of these barriers that we talked about today, are not even an issue. Most of the barriers we talked about, the fear of embarrassment or rejection or insecurity, that's none of their problems. Their problems usually are around knowing what to say, when to end the conversation, knowing the appropriate platform to have the right connection. I mean, I've been in situations where I am leaving a meeting and I am running to try to get to the airport, and I announce that I need to get to the airport, and somebody who's extroverted pretty much stands in front of me on the doorway and say, please, can I have 5 minutes? I'd like to talk to you. No, wrong time. It simply tells me you don't respect my schedule. I need to go. You heard me say I need to get to the airport, and I ended the message real quick so I can run. But you want to now start talking about, your problem with your grandfather that conceived your, you know what I mean. So it's about knowing the right time as well. So there are certain skills that you need to learn, and we can talk about that. Obinna Erondu asks, please, how do you avoid the temptation of being self-centered at the cost of building network? It has to be deliberate. Now, you cannot eradicate, because for you to network, remember, being self-centered in this context is not necessarily saying that I have a goal I want to achieve, and so because of that, I need a network. That is not what being self-centered is. Being self-centered is that if you want to join the network for personal reasons, to gain only. Remember, the platform for networking is supposed to help you share. That's the key word. Share information, ideas on a common objective or on a common platform. So it is very critical for you to be able to know that I am not only coming here to get, I'm also here to give. It goes both ways. So there's a lot of information that you also need to share. That's why you need to continue to develop yourself. You need to continue to learn. You need to continue to improve and expand your own capabilities, so that when you come to the networking platform, you do have something to say and you can say it. That way somebody's also learning and receiving from you, not that you're just getting. The Dead Sea is full of amazing natural resources, but it is a one-way streak. It is always wanting to get. And that's why everything in there is dead. You must also be willing to share. And that's why we said you need to have mentors, peers, and proteges, so that the knowledge and information that you receive will also filter out to other people. You have peers who you can be able to work horizontally and continue to grow. So it is okay for you to have a very clear vision as to what you want to accomplish. That's why you're part of the network. That is what drove you into the network. But be sure that you're also adding value to other people. That is the only way you can avoid that self-centeredness. And remember, you go into it with a give first mentality, so that way you're also adding value to other people. Somebody asked that for extroverts, I believe that's true. They are more comfortable, but while at that, they just need to be strategic. All right, that was not a question. Victor, you have a question, go ahead.
Okay. Mine has to do with the categorization. I'm just thinking, should we limit the categorization to what you've given to us, or we could have a fourth or a fifth categories? Because I'm just visualizing the nature of the contact I have. Yes, some can be grouped into mentors, some into peers, some into proteage, but there are some that does not fit this category. How do I, where do I fit them? So do I need to create a fourth category or a fifth? That's the first question.
Okay.
Then, in the course of networking, I'm talking from experience, I realized that there are some people that you just need to keep them by the side. Maybe with this, you're establishing a cadence now. Even before now, I've developed a routine at which point I had to contact them. Some of them, I only reach out to them when there is something of value, like you said, that I need to share to them, or something that I think they might, a topic or something that they might be interested in, and I just shoot it out to them. And then, painfully, when you travel abroad, for those who have had the privilege to travel abroad and attend conferences, outside of the country, when I mean the country, outside of Nigeria, you meet these people, all of you are on the same pedestal, literally. But when you return back home, no doubt they are not in quote, cadre. They may be more wealthier than I am. Some of them are directors and managers of multinational companies. Over there, they are willing to talk to you. But when they return here, the same people that were free to talk to you, they stop picking your calls. They can't even return WhatsApp or SMS and all of that. So how do you deal with such kind of relationship? On the reverse side, and which is somehow to, like I said, based on my experience, those from the north, even though they may be MDs and CEOs, they still talk to you. Some, they are even cautious. Victor, I can't talk to you today. We'll talk over the weekend. But our own southern people seem to be the ones with this problem. So how do you deal with these kind of people that you don't want to group them into any of these categories? You just want to find a separate category for them. And then, like I said, begin to check where they fit in these first three categories that you've provided. Thank you.
Good question. All right. The first thing I need to say, Victor, is that irrespective of when we talk about networking, in networking, there are three categories of people you can have: peers, proteges, mentors. If they don't fit into who is a protege? A protege is somebody who looks up to you, has made that commitment to say, I want to learn from Victor or from Mary or whoever it is. And they're willing to pay the price. They're willing to make that commitment to constantly learn from you. Those individuals, they've paid the price. That's the key word. There's a price to pay for mentorship. If that individual does not pay the price, and that price could be a commitment of time, energy, resources, you will see it. It's obvious that they want to learn. They will follow you. They will engage with you. They will stay connected with you. If they do that, then you know that, okay, this is a protege worth investing my time in, and then you build that relationship. For those who are your peers, that is, it's a symbiotic relationship. You learn from each other, you grow from each other. You don't want anything from each other. You just know that we're in the same boat together. And then the third, your mentors are individuals who have identified you as a protege, or they've identified you as someone that they can point to. Now, understand something. It is not every mentor-mentee relationship that is formal. Sometimes you don't even need to have anything to do with the person. You just want to lean and glean from them whenever and however way you can. All right? Because you've identified the roadmap that you want to achieve or accomplish for yourself. And as you're going down that journey, you are now reading from this person's books. Whenever you have the opportunity to connect with them, you connect. When they have an audio, a session, a teaching, or anything going on, you connect with them and learn from them. And that is okay. But now, to answer your other side of the question, are there people that do not fit into these three categories? Yes, there are. There are. Just because the person is better or highly, or let's say is better positioned today, does not necessarily mean that they are going to be your mentor. All right. You give an example of saying, yes, we travel overseas, and then these highly placed officials, we stay at the same hotel, we can connect, we eat together, we laugh together, we hang out at the pool and have a good time. Then as soon as we land at Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport or at whatever airport it is that we're traveling to, their assistants come and pick them up, and then they never take your calls again. That simply means that relationship was never meant to be. Remember last week when we were talking, we said that in order for a protege mentor-mentee relationship to flourish, there has to be a willingness. Do they see you as the same? What value are they looking for? Something from you? Because you are categorizing individuals into buckets: mentor, mentee, protege. If it is a peer or if it is a mentor, do they see you as a protege as well? If they don't, then do you still need that person in your life? If the question is yes, then is it going to be a direct mentoring relationship, or is that going to be mentorship through proxy? Meaning that they are producing materials, that there are things that they're doing that you can be learning from a distance. You don't even need to talk to them ever. Here's the truth. One of the individuals that has helped me shape who I am financially, I've never met him in my entire life. I've read every book he has written during his lifetime. He's dead now, but I've read every book he's written. I have hundreds of hours of tapes that he has taught on financial competencies and different things. Why? Because to me, that is a mentor, but I never got a chance to speak with him. It was funny, about 2 months ago, I was able to connect with one of his personal assistants that conducts one of those sessions. And his assistant was so excited. He was like, man, we miss him, right? We miss Bill. I said, yes, I know, because I said, I have all these materials. He was like, you have all those materials? I said, yes, every session we had, I recorded, everything I got, I recorded every single session. He was like, can you send me some? He was the one conducting the sessions and he didn't even have it. I have it. And this has been for years of just following this guy and listening and being in every session and just recording them and just downloading them and getting whatever I can. All right. So you can learn through proxy as well. But in those cases, a lot of times the environment shapes how people behave. And unfortunately, here's the unfortunate thing. When you go to your part of the world, particularly if you're in a third world country or in a developing nation, the mentality there is different from this part of the world. When you come here, nobody cares if you're a doctor or you're the president. I mean, everybody treats you the same. Nobody calls you by doctor, professor, some titles. Your name is Bill. Bill it is. Dala it is. Kelly it is. Nobody cares how many degrees you have. That's why some of you, let me even put this out to you. Some of you should go on Facebook and go and look at your profile. I'm talking about not Facebook, on LinkedIn. You will look at your profile, you will be disturbed because you have so many letters at the back of your name. You begin to wonder that what is the objective? Why do you need to have SAFE, CFE, PMP, PMEPR, ACD, DCX, XYZ, ABC at the back of your name? At the point, some even have BSc, MD, PhD, MBA. What the hell? It gets to a point like, what? If you have a PhD, it simply means you already have a master's and a BSc. Do you have to identify all of that and every certification you've done? It's a mentality. So you can take a fish out of water, and put it on land does not make it a chicken. It will not thrive. All right. So it's a mindset. So for those of you who know me, the dollar you meet in Omaha is the same dollar you meet in Nigeria or in Kenya or wherever it is that I go, because it's too complicated switching. So if I want to connect with you, I'll connect with you, and that's pretty much it. So what I would say is, for individuals who do not fall into that category, it is okay to still maintain a relationship with them, but don't sweat the small stuff. Don't waste your time. If you reach out to them a couple of times and they don't respond to you, kill it. Don't even bother. In fact, let me give you a simple example. There's an individual who I wanted him to mentor me. I really wanted that person to mentor me. And we started going down the road, and I noticed he started acting funny. Not out of anything that I did. I don't know what his issue was, but the moment he started acting funny, as a matter of fact, I scheduled a meeting to meet with him to discuss certain things. And then I think part of it was, I think I know what I did, because I challenged something that has to do with their business in a certain part of the world that I felt needed to change. I'm kind of thinking that that's probably why. But I noticed that from that point on, he started acting funny, and I reached out like 2-3 times. He emailed me back and forth. We emailed a few times, we texted a few times, but I could tell that there was an undertone to the conversation. So actually, I was going to send him a package. I actually sent him an email and say, hey, I'm going to be sending this to you. And then after I sent it, I'm just like, what am I even doing? and I didn't bother. I just took the packet, I put it in the trash, and that's it. So he and I, nowadays, once in a while, he sends an email, hey, what's up? I'm like, I'm good, what's up? That's it. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't need mentorship from that platform. Now, and in the content, and during that time, I actually came across a much better person that I felt was a better mentor for me. And I'm working with that new person now. So don't pursue something. It has to be symbiotical. It has to be symbiotic. You have to be able to learn from it. You've got to be comfortable in it. And if that's not working, maybe it's the wrong time. And remember, mentorship is also in seasons. There are people that are supposed to be in your life at certain points in time. There are certain peers. You can be playmates, for a season, but you all grow, right? When you get to a point, the person that was your mentor one time is no longer fit to be called a mentor. So you've got to make that leap at that point in time. So I'm not sure if that answers all of your questions. Victor, you never ask straightforward questions. So thanks for that. Esther said, sir, is it strange not to have a lot of mentors, but learn from many? The answer is yes. You can have many teachers. The key thing I will say is that as long as those people that you're following or you're learning from, you have them in categories. Maybe financially, you have a financial mentor, you have a family mentor, you have a faith mentor, you have a fun mentor, you have individuals in specific areas and things that you're trying to accomplish, and then you learn specifically in those areas. You don't care what they're doing in other areas. You're only interested in learning with regards to that specific area that you're focused on. So yes, the question is that you can have multiple mentors. You said, I worry I have to start over and be more intentional. That is okay. Sometimes in order for you, if the foundation is faulty, there's nothing you can do but tear the building down and rebuild. So it is very okay. All right. That's all I can say to that. Fumi, you have a question. You have your hands raised. Go ahead, ask your question.
Yes, I do. Thank you so much. I just wanted to find out, also relating to what Victor said concerning the categories. Now, there's a particular category I'm not too sure if it could be part of networking. I'm thinking, I don't know where, because I also think this also has to do with maybe probably your sector. I'm thinking of sponsors. That's also another area that's actually, I feel is very, very key. And at times might be probably very intentional within your sector. If I'm going to go probably, for instance, now if you work in the corporate world, sponsors are also people that are really very key to your career, because they can always speak for you. And so I was thinking, can they be put in this category where we have the mentor, peers, prodigies, and probably the sponsors? I'm not too certain about that. Could throw more light on it.
Well, you're now getting into more about categories for business. We're talking broadly across the platform for networking generally. There are people who will never need a sponsor in their business ever, right? So putting that as a category for networking. But now in your business, I know that because you work in the corporate field, a lot of times you have events and things you want to do, and you need sponsors outside of that. It's good. You can have that category. You can maintain that Rolodex of contact information. But we're talking about for you as an individual to develop your own. Remember, the focus of this meeting is how to develop a strong personal network. Personal. We're not talking about professional, right? So in order to have a strong personal network, those are the three things you need to focus on. Of course, you have your family that don't fall into some of that categories. You have friends that don't fall into that category. You have people that will bug your life day and night. This is more about knowing the platforms from which you can learn so that you can become better and then you continue to drive your successes going forward. But when you start getting into more of the professional side of things, depending on your type of business, you will need individuals who are going to sponsor events, for instance, who are going to create other opportunities for you on your business platform. You can be able to morph this same model in a way that you can have sponsors, you can have folks that you sponsor as well. You know, you can have people who you may consider to be bridges to other things. So you can take the same model and even apply it to your business. I don't think there's any rule that says you cannot have more categories than this. But the focus of what our conversation is really around business and around your professional growth. So I'm not sure if that answers your questions as well. Okay. Okay, we've been on this call for 2 hours, and I've been sitting in this chair for 9 hours. So I need to take a break. I will take one more question if there is. If not, we can call it a day. One more question. Okay, well, in the absence of any posted question, in the absence of any hands raised to ask a question, I will assume we have come to the end of this broadcast. So I want to say thank you to each and every person who joined the call today. It's been exciting. I love doing this. I love the most important thing for me. All I ask is you go back and implement and apply the things that you've learned to your day, to your work, to your business, to your career, or whatever it is that you do. All right. So please take a moment. Remember the assignments for this week. Make sure that you capture those assignments and implement, apply them. And from there, we should be good to go. So thank you so much for joining me for this session. And I will encourage you to be ready. Join us bright and early for our next session. Same time, 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, which I think is 8 p.m. in Nigeria, 2 p.m. in Omaha. I don't know, other parts of the world. Just do the math, convert the time, and I look forward to having a great time with you. So all have a good week, stay safe, and I will talk to you shortly. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.